Welcome back to ApexThis.Podcast, a chronicle of my journey to start a publishing side business. This will be a behind-the-scenes look at what I'm doing to make that happen. I'll share tips and best practices that I learned along the way. Tips that you can use to start your very own indie publishing journey and share your voice with the world. Coming up, the June update. All right, we are back, and let me tell you what happened for the month of June. Don't worry about if this podcast episode is a little bit late. So for the month of June, I had a monthly primary focus and a secondary focus. So let's start with the primary focus. The two things in my primary focus for the month of June was the weighted cover design and the weighted formatting. The secondary focus for the month of June was the AT podcast and notes on mixtape. Ooh, what's that about? So let's jump right into it. So the total work hours for the month of June is 18 hours and 8 minutes. Now, again, to note, this is all done on the side as I do have a day job. So that's why if you're just tuning in for the first time and you're like, only 18 hours for a whole month? Well, that's because I have a day job and all of this is done on the side. So how did those 18 hours break down? The weighted short story consumed 9 hours and 6 minutes. And what comprised of this time was the blurb, the formatting, the marketing strategy or planning or looking at that, if you will, and the cover design. So all of that work pouring into for that month and prepping and getting weighted short story for publication. Next up is the AT podcast at 3 hours and 47 minutes. And that was to provide the updates for Q1 2021. Next is Notes on Mixtape, which is 45 minutes. And this comprises of a draft post that has not been released yet of the author, myself, making and releasing notes on a few of the poems from the Mixtape Volume 1 Poetry Collection. So that will be coming in the future. Just need to finish massaging some of the text and notes on that and ideas on at least 3 of the poems. If you're part of the author newsletter, it will be released as part of the author newsletter, but you'll get a preview of one of those on Goodreads and on the Apex This blog. Next was The Crimson Door, a short story that was publicly written, and total time for that is 2 hours and 37 minutes. So as this story was previously written, this time comprised of the story outline, updating it, adding more documentation from where the story diverged in the first draft, and prepping that for a rewrite in July. Lastly, rounding out the time is your admin time at 3 hours and 44 minutes. And that entails email, finances, taxes, planning, website updates. And there were a few website updates, such as adding the productivity, or not productivity, but the project page to show my productivity on a few of the Apex This projects that we have. So definitely go check it out, ApexThis.com/projects. And so that kind of rounds out the time breakdown for the month of June and where that time was spent. Also new for the month of June is finances. So let's briefly jump into that. Outside our normal monthly subscriptions that we have, we also had 2 new things that came in for Apex This. First were the Kindle royalties for Mixtape, and second was a art commission that we completed and delivered for a customer. So a little bit more detail about them both. June was an interesting month in the regard of finance. So while the new item was the art commission, the income from the Kindle royalties, which is a net 90 for Mixtape, came in. This is a publishing tip to those looking to self-publish. Platforms like Amazon have a net 60 or net 90 payout, which means that the first payment is 60 days from the first month the item was on sale, and it continues monthly. So my sales from March and April were paid out in June. Quite a bit of time. So if you're looking to get into that, each platform holder may have their own set of rules. So you'll need to keep that in mind of when you should expect your actual payment. The art commission was news, not something that we typically advertise, as we're mostly focused on publishing, but design services have been offered and done in the past from Apex This, from our wonderful design department, aka me. But we did get a commission to produce a piece, and we were able to get that done. And if you followed on Instagram, you would have seen some updates and sharing of that information. So overall, for the summary of the month, and as you know, these are quick episodes. It was a good month for June. We didn't push too much for getting the weighted short story up and out, as the original goal and focus was to get the weighted short story published by the end of Q2, which would have been the end of June. That did not happen. So there were some other items that we wanted to check, which ultimately delayed the release. So what's coming up next? What are we looking for in the month of July, which we're already in, but of course you won't get the July update until August. For my new listeners, we're always a month behind in the updates so that I can compile all the time data and actually conduct my monthly review on how the month went. So what's next for July? My primary focus areas for July is weighted publishing to get that published and out the door. Then working on 2 writing projects, since July is Camp Nano. National Novel Writing Month is officially in November, but there are two spots, April and July, in which Camp Nano exists. And you typically define your own writing goals and projects. It doesn't have to be the 50,000 word novel. So this has kind of been a good month in which I've been able to write. So focus for the month is Project Witch. Originally conceived as a short story, has been extended out to potentially being a novella, if not a much longer short story. Right now, the plan is to write 10 chapters of that. So it will be a short read, not a full novel, but we'll see what we get to and how that is concluded in July. The next goal for July and focus rather is the Crimson Door short story. So this has already been written and the outline has been tweaked here and there to update it and hopefully rewrite or expansion of the Crimson Door story to kind of work it out and get into a better shape. So I want to focus on that for the month of July as well. So in closing, it was a good slow month with a brief break from my copy editing class. This started back in July, so things will trudge along. Will I be able to publish Weighted? Will I write the 2 short stories? Let's find out in the July update. P.S. Weighted will likely be up by the time you listen to this, so definitely hit up ApexThis.com patreon.com/weighted. And if you like, you can support, sign up for the author newsletter to get it for free, or read it for free on Kindle Unlimited, or you can purchase it outright for 99 cents if you want to support me. All right, that's it for this month. I'll catch you in the next episode. Until next time.